Welcome to the REM User Guide Video 3. In this video we will show how to use the tool to calculate concentrations of local pollutants at receptors. From the landing page, navigate to the emissions input page using the sidebar menu. Similarly to the other videos, our first step is to populate the inputs in the standard input options panel. This is because in order to calculate concentrations of pollutants at receptors, we first need to calculate emissions. The tool is able to calculate concentrations of NO2, PM10 and PM2.5 at human receptors, and NOx, deposited nitrogen and deposited acid at ecological receptors. So I'll ensure that we select the relevant pollutants from the inputs menu. We also need to insert a traffic data file, which has been pre-prepared in mind of our human ecological receptor input files. At this point, we can expand the receptor file input box and start inputting data there that we need. But just for this example, I'll hit Run Emissions Calculation. As we've seen previously, we get our three data tables of emissions. At this point, we can also select the human receptor concentration and ecological receptor concentration tabs, but we get an error message because we've not put enough information into the tool to calculate concentrations yet. If we go back to the emissions input and in the receptor file input box, we can see that to run a human receptor file we need a data input file, and we also need one for ecological receptors if we need to do that as well. Templates of these files are available in the Downloads menu under Guides and Templates here and here. So loading in a human receptor file, we can then preview it. So in this file we've got a field for receptor ID, which is used to refer to the location where we want to calculate pollutant concentrations. We've got road ID, which refers to a road link which is present in the traffic input file, which has been loaded into the tool. We've got distance, which refers to the distance in meters from the curb of the specified road to the receptor. And we've got background concentrations for each of our pollutants. And you might have noticed that we have two lines of receptor R2. This is a feature useful in the tool where we can calculate a total concentration of receptors that are proximal to more than one link. So the first entry for R2 is 4 meters from road ID 2579, and the second entry for R2 is 74 meters from 2587. It's important that the background concentrations are consistent here. So these refer to the background concentration of NO2, for example, at receptor R2, and has nothing to do with the road ID, so they need to be consistent, and the tool will give an error if they're not. Next, the ecological receptor data file. So similarly to the human receptor file, we've got a receptor ID, we've got a road ID, and we've got distance. We've also got a background NO2 concentration, which again, consistent if we've got more than one line for the same receptor. We've got habitat type, which is either forest or grassland, and we've got our ammonia emission rate as grams per kilometre per second. Now we can hit Run Emissions Calculation, and this time when we navigate to the human and ecological receptor concentrations tab, we've got some data. We can see for the ecological receptor concentrations we've got tooltips above nitrogen deposition and acid deposition to give the user a little bit more information on those. In the Downloads menu we can download these outputs as well.